But remember that if you get new gear, you won't be any better as a photographer. You will have better gear.
Really exciting day today. I'm on my way to Helsinki to meet with Peter Forsgård.
All right. Great. Hope I wasn't, talking too much like I sometimes.
No, absolutely.
Sometimes do.
Now it's when the normal conversation becomes awkward talking to the camera.
Oh yeah, it is. It's usually
So
that's what it is.
But hello, this is Roger in Finland. Obviously in Finland today. We're in Helsinki with a really special guest, Peter, and I think I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Oh, you're not gonna ask me anything? Well, of course. Yeah, hi, I'm Peter, and a photographer and a YouTuber. And I don't know if you've seen my channel, but if you're an Olympus user, you probably have.
And if you haven't, go and subscribe. And for the impatient ones, just watch the whole video. One thing I will say, take Peter as an example of humbleness. Here we have a professional photographer with decades of experience, taking some time to talk to a random small channel YouTuber. And we talked for a while during the interview, and we talked for a while afterwards, and it was a great experience. Thank you, Peter, but now let's go to the interview. I prepared some old tech type of things. And actually the thing that brought us together here was that you reached out to me asking about the DJI Action 2 because you were having some issues with it. And the thing that I was curious about was, what does a professional photographer have used for an action camera?
Well, for my videos, for B-roll, and I like to, when I'm doing some vlog, I actually have it over there, I should probably have it here, but when I'm vlogging, I like to use the small one. And then now with the mic, I have the same mic, it fits, you can just plug it in and start talking, and it works, and that's why I actually got it in the first place.
One thing I wanted to ask, I saw that you're a photographer and an author, and one of the first books was that Hyvä Kuva.
Yes.
And I read that it was meant for people that are forced to take pictures.
Yes.
So what was what brought you to make that?
Well, I was teaching people that are in PR in companies, and they need to photograph at the time for their internal magazines and customer magazines, and I was photographing for those magazines too, and some of the stuff they did themselves, especially internal things.
Right.
And I realized that they really need some education to do that, because most of them are there because they are very good in writing and PR and all that stuff, but because they need to take photographs, and most of them were forced. They had a certain camera in the in the company, and then everybody was using the camera, so that's where it came up that I was teaching them, and then I wrote a book about the material that I teach them. And it's kind of funny to read it now because it's from 2004, and I was still talking about film there. There is a section about film because that was the thing they used, and then of course that was in the transition of digital, and that's also was nowadays somebody's in the construction reading the audio, but we don't care.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, we will be fine. And of course then there was a transition to digital, and companies were trying to move to digital photography, and they bought digital cameras. And of course that was the time that they thought that now they don't need any professional photographers, so also that was part of it to teach them to do that digital.
But they actually need some help anyway.
Okay, they do need it, and then they realized a couple of years later that we cannot handle it.
Yeah.
So they need still. But that was the reason I made the book.
And now you've been a photographer for a few decades?
Yeah, I started in 1989 as a pro. Started earlier as a hobby. I got my first camera when I was 7. But then I didn't know that I'm going to be a photographer. It came a lot later in the 80s. But anyways.
And from everything you've done with this ton, what would be the one project that you're the most proud or the most spectacular?
Oh, you mean a photograph or a gig? It's really hard to say, but I was really proud when I was commissioned to photograph the leadership of Nokia in their heydays. So I have actually the group photo of the time when they was at their peak. And the funny thing is that I actually signed a contract that I'm never going to be able to say that. But I think because the company is totally different now, they can come after me if they want.
But let's review the video at some point if we need to cut anything out.
No, you don't have to cut this out.
Nice. And then something I'm always interested also is, what about the horror stories or those moments that something went terribly wrong, but the memory is still vivid in your mind?
Yes, and actually I made a video about it. It was the Friday the 13th when I published a video where I revealed 5 of my biggest mistakes. And probably the biggest one happened pretty close here because there's the Kiasma, which is under renovation, where all that stuff comes. We were in front of that. And usually I'm by myself doing the interviews, just like this, and then at that particular time there was a bigger crew. And when I had everything set up, I even had some lights outdoors. Then I took my camera out and realized I don't have any batteries with me. They were in the charger at home. So we had to set up everything and schedule a new thing next week or the week after that. And that was a bit embarrassing. Because everything was set up and they were, rehearsing, and I'm just like, wait a minute, let's meet next week. I don't have any batteries. So that was probably the worst thing. And then some photo gigs when during film, photographing all day, sent my slide films and they put it in the wrong development. They put it in the negative machine just by accident, and everything was ruined. But okay, that wasn't kind of my fault, but it's still
a horror story.
It's still a horror story because I had to do everything, and what I got was just free film, so I didn't get any. I had to do two days of work.
In addition to continuing your career as a professional photographer, you moved into starting to doing video in 2008.
2008, yes.
Yeah, and then you started also with doing YouTube. Was it so that you first were doing it in Finnish?
Yes, I did. I think I started 2018 in Finnish. It didn't go anywhere. I didn't know what to do, even though I've watched the content. It isn't that bad, but it was, the titles and everything and the thumbnails were total. I didn't know anything about, the clickbait stuff or that. And then I think it was 2019 when I started doing it in English, and we had a podcast with Matti Sulanto, which you might also know.
Yeah.
Called Valoaloilla podcast, which was in Finnish. We made about 100 episodes, a little over 100 episodes about photography. And then we did some videos. We stopped the podcast and started doing videos, and then we realized that this isn't going anywhere. Why don't we just, do in English? And then we both started doing it, actually. That was 2019, and in the fall when I really started to try to make them really valuable. Until then it was just random videos I didn't really think about. But then I started doing 2 videos a week and really thinking what to kind of like, and it started really well, and now it's starting to, I need to
put some extra effort again.
Yeah, I need to maybe think a bit more about the content and think what the people actually want. And to be honest, one big part was when Olympus was sold, then it's kind of like plummeted because everybody thought that it's gone and nobody was interested in. Now maybe it's going up again.
Need to rediscover it with the Olympus.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, but I really need to put some effort to the content a bit more. But watch it anyways.
And I remember, I think, watching probably going into MicroFourThirds several videos with you and Matti talking about Panasonic and Olympus cameras.
Yes.
And this one, I don't know how to ask the question, but according to the internet, MicroFourThirds has been like dead for the last 10 years or dying. And here we have a professional photographer shooting MicroFourThirds. So obviously it isn't that. There's new cameras coming. There's new cinema cameras coming with the mount and with that size of sensor. I don't know how that make you feel in general when there's people like me, who I just got a full frame camera because I'm a hobbyist and I feel like I need to. And then we have professionals working MicroFourThirds.
Yeah, I don't think photography is about the sensor size at all. I don't think it is. Of course, if I was doing, let's say, weddings and the situation was that I always have to photograph in the dark, or doing some nighttime street photography all the time, then of course I would probably consider. But for general work, nobody knows. And nobody even cares. The clients, they don't care. They just look at the photographs.
It's a good thing.
It's good enough, no problem. But of course, there are some things that, let's say like the noise level thing is better. But now that we have all these AI noise reduction things, the problem is going away in a way, because you don't really can tell. Even with this 10-year-old camera with high ISO, you can get really clean stuff. And nobody cares and nobody knows. And I don't think it's, I think idea of having a full frame is, of course, it's nice, no problem. But still, is that the thing? I'm sorry to say, but
No, absolutely.
you just got
absolutely.
one. But still, I don't really.
I feel that I could justify it if I would need to, but absolutely.
Of course, you can justify it. Everything can be justified. Of course, and when I switched in 2014, I think it was, yes. The thing was the size, of course, because I'm not getting any younger, and so carrying around lighter stuff was a big thing. I needed less bags and everything. But of course, now like that camera isn't actually much bigger than the OM1.
Yes.
Not much. Of course, the lenses, fast lenses, are a bit bigger, but I don't think that's the advantage anymore. I think it's in the area of, let's say, like for bird photography, it is a bit different. The big lenses are a lot smaller, and that's why quite a lot of people have been using OM1 for their bird photography and Olympus in general.
What has been the most exciting thing of the OM1 specifically?
I think the improvement in video, even though it's not perfect, but it's going to the right direction. Like the H.265 is 10-bit. You can actually see it in a small screen. That's a different. I know a few Olympus OM1 shooters that use video, and I can already tell when you see that. So there is a huge difference. But of course, there are some things like with the OM log. I don't think it's the best log in the world, but it's better than the other codecs anyway. So I think it's and the IBIS is, you can do handheld. Like I was telling before that we started this interview when we were setting this up, that sometimes, well, I've forgotten my tripod when I'm doing interviews. And like a 5-10 minute interview, handheld like this, no problem. It looks really good. It just looks natural. Nice and natural. It's beautiful, and that's why I like it. And no need of gimbals or anything, so I can have less gear.
And now that we are maybe with the OM system and closing a little bit the interview, what is the thing that you're most excited that might be coming up? You will not reveal anything to us. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But what can you see coming?
Well, in general, in photography, I think AI is the most exciting thing right now. Of course, there are some downsides, of course, when we talk about ethics and credibility of photographs. But like today, you can write a piece of text and it will generate you an image that is almost like a photograph. After 2 years, it will be a photograph. So, of course, it will affect maybe some advertisement photography, stock photography. But then again, that will also mean that a genuine photograph taken by a photograph with the real camera will be a lot more valuable, and that will be a thing.
New technology coming, new things coming, new cameras coming.
Oh yeah, new cameras are coming, and old cameras are still good. This is a 10-year-old camera that I'm testing today, again, because it was launched in 17th of September 2012.
10 years.
That's the point of using this.
There we go.
But yeah, there definitely will be new gear. But remember that if you get new gear, you won't be any better as a photographer. You will have better gear.
As this video proves, probably. But there we go. Peter, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll go and test the XZ2.
Yeah.
We're going to go and test the Action 2.
We will.
And
yes.
we'll have some fun. Thank you very much. It was good meeting you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Like and subscribe, and go and like and subscribe. The links will be down below or in the corners, in some place in the frame for sure.